It is May the 4th and it looks like a new trailer has dropped for the Acolyte, so you know what this means. Let's get straight into it.
Last night, a Jedi was murdered.
The Jedi justify their galactic dominance in the name of peace. But that peace is a lie.
We begin the trailer with a character by the name of Tasi Lowa recounting a recent murder of a Jedi, and this is very much a new character that we have never heard of and is most certainly not part of the character list released by the show so far. But judging by the sound of her voice, it sounds like a rather young individual, possibly a Jedi padawan reporting to the Jedi Council about the recent murder. We then get a scene of May, the fallen Jedi and former Jedi padawan of Master Soul, who is likely responsible for the murders that the Jedi will be investigating. And we do know from the previous trailers that May's character is likely an acolyte serving the secret Dark Lord orchestrating these events behind the scene. We see May use the Force to pick up her daggers as she walks away from a lightsaber, and this location that May is in does seem to be a darker version of the same location she has her fight with Master Indara, which we also saw in an earlier trailer, which could suggest that the victim in question here could very well be Master Indara herself. We then get a shot of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, followed by Master Soul, a shot of Jackie Lon, Master Soul's new padawan, and the smuggler Kamir saying,
In the name of peace. But that peace is a lie.
And Kamir calling it a lie is actually a nod to the Sith code, which begins with, "Peace is a lie, there is only passion," which clearly orients his character as likely not the biggest fan of the Jedi. Now of course this doesn't necessarily make him a Sith, but it could very well hint at who he is working for. It has already been previously established that non-sensitive individuals can also subscribe to the Sith code, such as the Acolytes of the Beyond, and the fact that May is actively interacting with him says as much. We see Master Soul walk through what appears to be a prison or holding area where we can see a screen for wanted individuals, and judging by the architecture of the building, this might very well be located within the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. We then cut to May fighting Indara, who now has her lightsaber out, whereas in previous trailers, we only saw hand-to-hand combat, which further supports the idea that Master Indara is the murdered Jedi in question. May throws her daggers at Indara, who easily knocks it aside.
Jedi are being hunted.
She was my student. I trained her.
We then see Master Soul and Jedi Knight Yord Fandar, who once again reiterates the Jedi are being hunted. And in one of these shots, we seem to get a look of the two investigating a wreckage site in a snowy environment, which is likely the same location as seen in the previous trailer with a ship crashing. May tries to murder a floating meditating Jedi, and we then get to see another shot of a cracked lightsaber hilt embedded into the ground. In the next shot, we get to see a young May who is being recruited by Master Soul, and there are two interesting things to take note of here. The first is that she seems to be guarded by these women who are likely part of a coven of witches, the same coven that Mother Anastasia leads, which would suggest that the Jedi might have taken her away from this coven once they realized that she was Force sensitive, which would put the coven of witches at odds with the Jedi Order. On top of that, in the background we see a few hooded individuals holding bows, which pinpoints his scene to be the same timing as another scene in a previous trailer where we saw Master Indara, Kalnaka, and another unnamed Jedi. So what I'm guessing is happening here is that the Jedi are effectively strong-arming the Coven of Witches to give up May so that she can be trained as a Jedi. The second thing to note here is just how old May seems to be. We're usually told that the Jedi Order only recruits Force-sensitive individuals when they are babies, to ensure that they would not grow up with strong attachments, with Anakin being the only exception. At least that was the case in the prequel era of the Jedi Order. However, May appears to be as old or around the same age as Anakin when he was recruited, which points to the possibility that the Jedi of the High Republic were less strict regarding the recruiting age of Jedi. But due to the events that occurred here with May going on a few murderous rampages, it might change all of that. However, the idea that the Jedi are a bit more lax on the age limit during the High Republic era might be contradicted by the High Republic comic in which Zine, a Force-sensitive child discovered following the Great Hyperspace Disaster, was considered too old to be trained by the Jedi, so it's not clear how the show is going to explain its way past this.
Let me be the one to bring her in.
I sense this is only a small part of a larger plan. Some sort of shift to tip the scales.
It's time to face the past.
Destiny is not decided for you by an anonymous force. If you want to pull the thread and change everything.
We see Master Sol confront his old padawan, and we then get to see what I presume to be a Jedi ship exiting hyperspace and detaching itself from, well, itself. And this is likely a precursor to the Jedi hyperspace rings that they use in the prequel trilogy, in which an attachment was needed for the Jedi to access hyperspace using their starships. We then hear Master Vernestra Rose say,
I sense this is only a small part of a larger plan.
As mentioned in an earlier breakdown, Vernestra Rose is a fan favorite character in the High Republic, as is one of the Order's youngest Jedi Knights, although by the time of the Acolyte she is very much older. We then cut back to the night May was taken and the nameless Jedi's eyes ends up darkening and he falls to his knees. And there is likely some dark side magic at work here, possibly stemming from the Coven of Witches. And the fact that Vernestra talks about the possibility of a larger plan at play, while we get scenes of the night May was taken, could allude to the possibility that May was being recruited into the Jedi Order, and this was all orchestrated as part of the Sith Lord's plan. We get a scene of the seaside and May walking up to a mysterious figure, and although we got a similar scene from the previous trailer, I just realized that this planet just might be Ahch-To, the planet Luke forced himself into exile and the birthplace of the Jedi Order, which would be quite interesting as the Sith Lord may be on Ahch-To to better learn about his enemies. We see a ship chase scene through a field of minor space debris, likely Sol chasing down May, and May then says,
It's time to face the past.
Which likely references the night that she was taken being a rather traumatic experience. But take a look at what is hanging on her neck, a sort of green vial, something which we didn't see her wearing before. We then see some massive explosions and a young May running through a burning forest, and I'm going to upload a separate video on what I think really happened that night, so be sure to check that out. We then hear Mother Anastasia saying,
Destiny is not decided for you by an anonymous force. If you want to pull the thread and change everything.
Which does lean more in line with the Sith belief of taking control of your destiny. We get more cantina scenes of May fighting other patrons, and we then get a scene of Anastasia talking to a young May. We also see May fighting against Master Sol's new Padawan, and looking at the background we can determine that this is the same jungle planet that the Jedi later encountered the Sith.
And pull it.
We see a wounded Master Sol on the ground, and this likely occurs after the force wave explosion caused by the Sith shown in the previous trailer. And then we finally get to see the big reveal. We see the Sith walk out from the shadows, red lightsaber in hand, and the silhouette does remind me a little bit of Kylo Ren. But as we get a look at his mask, we can see that it is much more sinister with what looks to be sharp edges of teeth and a thin line for vision. It's a rather scary design for Sith and arguably one of the best we've seen recently. Now, it has been speculated that this might be Darth Plagueis, which is a possibility, but judging by the difference in head shape, if this is indeed Plagueis, the character is going to look very different from what we used to know. However, judging by this look, I'm willing to bet that this is an entirely new character that we have never seen before. Now, we are assuming that this here is the Dark Lord behind it all, but I would not be surprised if this was merely a Sith apprentice, a sort of Darth Maul versus Qui-Gon moment where the Jedi are forced to speculate whether this is the Master or the apprentice. I think there is an opportunity here to keep Darth Plagueis as the overarching big bad while creating a new character that acts as his apprentice before he finds Palpatine. I think that would be quite an interesting and entertaining idea. Anyways, that's all for this breakdown. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. I'm the Lost Acolyte,
and I have spoken.